Welcome to Circle Back to Sunday here at Victory Hill. We are so excited that you're here to join us as we circle back and dive deep into the message from Sunday's sermon. You are going to get to meet some of our pastoral team on an intimate level, as well as other members here at Victory Hill as we circle back to Sunday's sermon. Welcome back to Circle Back to Sunday. We took a week off for Easter to have a little time with our families to celebrate the resurrection, but we are back.
Yep.
And it's an all ladies Sunday.
Yes, who's back.
I love that we always have a member of the worship team on because it never fails that
There's
someone
always a song. There's a song clip
breaks
somewhere.
out. Or Mason quotes movies, but he's not on the worship team. So.
All the time.
But welcome back to Circle Back to Sunday. I'm here with Miss Bethany and Katie, and we're just going to talk about our new sermon series.
Yep.
We kicked off, We Are Built This Way,
Yes.
which I kind of love. And Mason did a great job with his sermon titled Built for the Gospel.
Listen, sad note. Did y'all not think that the background looked like Saved by the Bell? It should have been the theme song.
You know, it did.
I know.
it
Little
did.
90s action.
There's a missed
I'm
opportunity.
just saying. Go back and watch
As
it.
the
You'll
people
think that too.
who grew up primarily in the 90s.
Saved
It
by the Bell.
absolutely did.
Anyways, back to
You're right.
Jesus.
You're right.
Built this way.
Now my brain's like, whoop, it's gone.
That's
But
the way mine works.
Built for the Gospel was today's sermon. And for context, I'm just going to read the sermon
Do it.
scripture. It's Romans 1:16 and 17. He had two main scriptures today. Look at him, keeping it simple. It says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith."
I love that.
I do. And he packed a really good message into just using
Two verses.
Two verses.
Yeah. do agree.
That's why he has the job.
That's true.
That's
true.
why he is in charge.
His first point was so good too, because it says
Yes.
a church can't be built for the gospel and be ashamed of it.
At the same time.
Woo, that's good. That's so
Listen.
good, because when you feel that shame, or you feel like I need to make this look prettier or better, then your eyes aren't on Jesus anymore.
Right, yeah.
Your eyes on
Yeah.
what he's done for you. When he said it, I was like, okay, let's go.
And I think that it was a great point because we've all experienced, Victory Hill's got some backlash across the years,
Sure,
yeah.
because we do things a little differently.
Sure.
And I love that Mason was like, but it's our goal to not move away from the gospel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we may not align with exactly what you feel,
Yep.
but the reason is that we're going to align with what the gospel
With
says.
the mission.
right.
Yep.
And the great thing about that is that we're also not going to come at you with condemnation. We're coming
Yeah.
at you with education,
Yep.
with breaking down. That's why these sermon series have been so amazing. Is
Yep.
it's broke it down. Even for me as a believer, lifetime.
Yep.
I've learned something new every time.
Yeah, and I guess I learned today, I've known that our youth group is called Unashamed, right? But I guess what I learned today is like the
verse for it,
that
yeah.
they
Oh, yeah.
that they kind of
He called
go
him out
by.
on that.
He
Yeah.
sure
And that was the Romans 1:16a, for I am not ashamed of the gospel. And I was like, oh wow, like
That's what
I'm
it's
so
from.
glad, that is, for our kids
Yeah.
and stuff, because I do think that at a young age, you really need to start understanding that.
Oh, yeah.
To not be ashamed of that, because the world is going to take things out of context of what the Bible really says, or
Yeah.
try to twist and turn it and stuff. And they don't need to be afraid to stand for what is
Right.
true and what it really, really
Or
says.
even they're going to be put in an uncomfortable situation where they're
Yeah.
asked, like, well,
Yeah.
what do you believe in, or what's your
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Don't
I
be
think-
ashamed of it.
Right. I think it's building up that next generation to be confident
Yes.
Yeah.
in their beliefs.
And Pastor Trey during Death Disrupted talked about death having a different meaning, and kind of blew my mind. When Mason said today, the gospel is a picture of how low God would humble himself just to tell us
I wrote that down.
the gospel.
Yeah.
And just to tell us how to get there, just to
Yeah.
tell us one more step, just to tell us all those things. But if you think of being ashamed of the gospel in that context, it's
Right.
like, how can you?
Right.
You can't. That's a kick in the gut every
is.
time.
It is.
Just get up out of your own business, I don't know. I
Dust
love
yourself
that.
off.
Yes.
Dust yourself off.
Get up, do it again.
I love that his second point was sharing the gospel empowers the miraculous. And, you don't really think about just sharing your testimony with somebody, how far that can go and the miraculous things that can come out of it. But he broke it down to as simple as salvation is a miracle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you talk about sharing the gospel, people automatically think that you should have tracts in your hand and a megaphone from the mall. You know what I mean? Like something super bold or super look at me, or neon signs, or the little dancing men beside you. You know what I mean? Like from the car lot. You know, something like that. Like it should be that bold. But in all honesty, it's building someone else's faith. So it's telling your testimony. It's telling about what God has done in your life, how good He is to you, and what He's brought you out of. And that may just look so different for everybody. Your story is different than mine. Your story is different than Katie's. Katie's story is different than mine. Like all of ours, but there is something in each one of our story that is a miracle for somebody else.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be that, hey, I prayed for my mom and she got up and walked and she's been in a wheelchair all of her life. Obviously those still happen, and the miracle is crazy. And it absolutely still happens, but it literally could be the most simple thing to you that is life-changing miracle for somebody else. And I just think that once you take out the part where you think you have to have these spotlights or boldness that Billy Graham had, like that you can just be a simple mom and tell your story to another mom friend, or you can just be a simple servant. Like it doesn't matter, or even in your workplace, or in your marriage, like, hey, this worked for us and this didn't work for me. You know, those types of things. Like it's the little things that make the miracles.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that he broke down, like he researched the historical word power. Yeah. Like it was dynamis is the Greek word. And he's like, that's where we get dynamite. And like, I love that he gave that whole context because it makes that word so much bigger.
Yeah.
Like if you think of the power of God and dynamite, like boom, you know, it's just like,
I think of Wile E. Coyote and pushing it down. Sorry. Show my age. Saved by the Bell and Wile E. Coyote. I was born in the 90s.
Listen, I'm a Looney Tunes kid through and through, okay? So I know exactly. That's why I was just like over here just like, yeah.
That's what I thought. Dynamite.
Yep. Anyway. Listen, he never got the road.
He never gave up. Persistence, though.
He was persistent, but he never got him. For anybody who's not a Looney Tunes kid, spoiler alert. But I do think that like sometimes we are so wrapped up in what we think are miracles, we miss the power.
Yeah.
We miss it.
And that's why I liked what he said is every time someone crosses that line of faith, like that is a miracle too.
Absolutely.
So if people aren't seeing, Bethany, maybe you mentioned like healing somebody or something like that, or if somebody says, well, I haven't really seen him perform a miracle lately. Well, even someone crossing that line of faith is a miracle.
Yep. Yeah.
And stuff. So
I think, to just dumb that down, because people put so much emphasis on the miracle word, like the word miracle, that it has to be some glorious Hollywood show.
Like the lights.
It literally could be someone is addicted to food and now they're not. Yeah. It could literally be that someone's, can't stop saying bad words and now they do. Like there's so many things. It's a miracle in your life. Yep. Doesn't have to be this big show for everybody else. And I think once you look back at that and realize that that is the gospel, that is the mission, then being bold about it is kind of easy at that point in time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I loved when he said, when you don't remind ourselves of where God got us out of, then we will become a crusty Christian. I don't really know why he had to say crusty.
He used the word crusty way too often.
Nasty.
In this. So if we're just, Mason, side note.
We don't like crusty. That's
limit the number of times.
Could you see I don't know, any other adjective besides crusty?
Crabby.
I mean yucky.
There's a lot of alliteration that could
crusty.
happen.
But I do get it that when something stays
very visual,
stale for a while, it gets crusty.
It's a little visual. Now Bethany's saying it a lot. Thanks, Mason.
Crusty. Crusty. But when you're not exercising that, then you get
we've all experienced somebody, I'm sure, in our lives.
Yeah.
That is the definition of what he was trying to get across.
Of a crusty Christian. That's so gross. I just can't.
Stop saying it.
Keep me thinking of the Krusty Krab on SpongeBob now. I don't even like SpongeBob.
And now it's in Katie's head for the rest of the day.
It's fine.
Again, Thanks, Mason.
Appreciate ya.
And I think that that's why that they've done such a good job, our teaching team here at Victory Hill, is because we are speaking to non-believers, right? That's our goal, is to bring more followers to Christ, for them to have life change and to experience that. But if we are not kept on our toes as believers, we can't do that mission. We can't stay on mission. We can't do what we were built for. And we are built for the gospel.
Yep.
You know, just to circle back to the title of the sermon.
Yep.
But that is what we're built for. And so his point that I wrote down today also was, restore to me the joy of my salvation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that because sometimes we forget that that in itself is a miracle, we lose the joy that came from that. That's just like, I love the moment when people come out of the baptism water. And they just, you can read it on their face.
Yeah. Like explode.
Something has changed, because Mason even said, you can't be in the presence of Jesus and not be changed.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of those moments. But that's joy that, like, that even those moments, we can stray from that a little bit. And, like, I think just that point of, like, okay, Jesus, take me back. Take me back to that moment and let that fill my life back up, because we need that. Because if we don't have the joy in our own salvation and the things that God's done for us, how can we translate that?
Well,
to
the world's going to suck it right out of us. You know, like, I mean, it's just like a vacuum. Yeah. It's like, just, you get down to empty and you got to fill up the gas tank again.
Yep. And I think that just being able to be vulnerable and say, as Christians and believers, we need to have that we need to be reminded that there's joy in that.
Yeah.
You know, we may be 20 years away out of our salvation day, but, like, there's that joy is in God, and it's living and it's alive, and there's absolutely no reason that can't continue to be alive in us. Which leads kind of into his third point, which was the gospel is not just information, but
revelation.
Revelation.
That's right.
I love that. And he said that it answers the question of how God sees us and still wants us.
Yes.
I love that, because it should remind us, once we have that thought, like, I've done it all and God still sees me and he still wants me. Like, he's still calling me. He's still making a way when there isn't, you know, a path that's lighted up in bright lights, you know, or he's still making a way in my family. He's still all these other things. But it's really that joy, I feel like, in that relationship with Jesus comes from looking at those times where he saw me for what I was and still wanted me. Because, I mean, especially as women, like, I can think of many times where I've felt unwanted. You know what I mean?
You are preaching.
And that is just, I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's mentally draining.
Well, we're programmed by society to be wanted.
To be wanted. But
all the wrong
instead,
things.
instead, like, you know, how joyful it is when we find that those people that do want us, it should be the same joy that, you know, fills up that tank.
Yep, I agree.
He still wants us.
He loves us even when we're crusty. Ugh.
Stop saying it.
I can't help it. You started it.
What is 2 Corinthians 5:21, I think, is what he said. Do you have your Bible open?
Yeah, it said he made the one.
Anybody else ready? I'm just kidding.
He said, I made the one who did not know sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God.
I love that.
I do too.
It just brings it back down to what he did for us.
Listen, God, he literally did the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, Jesus really did, because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
No.
He had the power of God in him that he could have been like, you know what? Yeah, I changed my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And that gave us the opportunity for a relationship with him, for salvation, for life change, for a miracle.
Yep.
He was something that set off a miracle for us. And, you know, that's something that I'm thankful for. But to go back to Romans, when one of the verses from the sermon today, he said, for in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith. So that was what Mason read. And in my Bible is the NIV version. It said a righteousness that is by faith from first to last.
Oh, that's good.
And for me, that I took from that, from the first person to the last person.
Yeah.
Not just from the first day for me to the last day for me in my life, but if we are bringing people, you know, to Christ and people in our families, we're building a legacy.
Yep.
And, you know, that faith needs to be strong enough to carry us through not just our life, but what comes after in our generations. And so I kind of loved that I had two different versions of that in front of me today, and I highlighted it because for me, legacy is huge.
Yeah.
You know, I used to really never think about it, but the older I get and as my kids get older, I'm like, these are the things, these are the life lessons that I want my children to carry on.
The first, the first breath to the last breath, the first thing we've done wrong to the last thing we've done wrong. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's all of it.
It is. And I
all
think
encompassing.
that just, for me, I was like, oh, okay.
Man, I'm so thankful too, because your girl mess up every day.
Listen, we are not perfect by any means. Don't sit next to me in traffic.
Don't drive with me in traffic. So
I would
be
honestly
just
love to.
fine. It's a party.
I would love to.
It's a party. Katie doesn't let me drive. It's fine.
I let you drive sometimes.
Oh, she said,
Oh,
sometimes.
it's not real good.
No, just hang on.
Yep, real good.
You ain't driving anywhere right now.
No, I ain't. I got this big old cast on my foot. Driving my scooter.
For anyone who's not physically been to church lately, Bethany has a
I have
scooter.
that broke foot.
And she has a bell with lights
Yes, I
on
do.
it.
Coming
that-
through.
Listen,
The first time last Sunday I did it, and I went by a friend of mine. I went, they see me rolling. I should have put a speaker on it. That'd have been smarter.
you should have.
How much? I got time. I got 2 more weeks.
She can have her own sound effects and everything.
That's
It's gonna be
right.
fine.
Walk up
Oh,
song,
goodness.
roll up song.
I love the personality that God gave you.
I'm just wild. But point number 4 said we are made right by our belief, not our behavior.
Points made.
Hey.
As to how-
They put me on here because I'm squirrely. I make it all
It's
come
fine.
together here.
It's fine.
But we are made right by the belief, not our behavior.
Yeah, because I think there's some people, they're just like, if I'm a good person, I'll
Yes,
go to heaven.
I'll make
If I give, if I donate, if I do this or if I do that, or I didn't cuss anybody
Right,
today.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
there's not a tally board up
Yes.
in heaven where there
Yep.
ain't enough angels for that,
Yep.
nor time.
No, and I mean, we're human, so it's only going to get us so far. Our behavior is, you know what I mean?
And then if you did, like if you were, say you had a great day, you were
Yeah.
super kind to everyone, you paid for the lady's groceries in front of you at the
Yeah.
grocery store because she's short, and then the next morning you wake up and you yell at your kids
Yeah.
or you kick your dog. Don't kick your dog.
Yeah.
That
That just hurt Emily's heart.
it did. It really that made me sad.
How'd you
after it
say
came out of my mouth. I was just trying to think of something really
Just say
terrible.
crusty. Just say crusty. It's fine.
Or if you're a crusty Christian, if you would just be all the time just trying to like wipe that clean and start over. That's
Yeah.
It's
That's
exhausting.
exhausting.
Yeah.
exhausting. But to know that because of Jesus' sacrifice, we have that salvation that gives us the freedom. And Mason said, you don't have to behave to be saved.
Hey, yo.
I love that.
I do love that.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Well, and
and he's just talking about, bring them to church, let them hear the gospel, the true gospel.
Right.
And, Jesus wants them. And if
Yeah.
Jesus is reaching out, they get saved and they have that salvation, then God will start working on their heart and their behavior, right?
Yep.
But they need to believe first and start hearing the gospel, believe in the gospel. Because I think you tie that into anything that we do,
Yeah.
right? Most people are, I would think it's before you're going to go do something, you want to be bought into it first.
Yeah.
I definitely want
Or-
to be invested.
Yeah, or before you purchase something, you're probably going to read the reviews or, something like that. And I think that that's,
Not the instructions, but I absolutely will
Come
read
on
the
with
reviews.
that. Come on with
I
that.
like to be shocked.
These pictures kind of look good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
but, and meeting people where they're at, just like Jesus did, he humbled himself.
Yeah.
We need to humble ourselves and not be ashamed of the gospel. So know what's true, know what the gospel is, but be willing to humble ourselves and meet people where they're at, bring them, share the gospel with them, lead them to Christ, and then he'll do the rest from there. The behavior will change after the fact.
Yeah, because you can't, like Mason said today, you can't get close to Jesus and your
Not be
behavior
changed.
not change.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Like,
Yeah.
you just want to be better. You want to do
Yeah.
different. You
That's
want to
right.
be, do
Every
different
day I
things
tell my kids
better.
I wake up to try to be a better version of myself than
Yeah,
I was the day
absolutely.
before because I ain't going to get it right every
I know.
Yeah, because again, still going to mess up. But
Yep.
I mean,
And
you have that, you want to strive to be better because I think too, you start, when that first happens and you're saved, you're in the gospel more.
Yeah,
So
you
you're
are.
starting and
Yeah.
you're learning and more and more and more.
Yep. And I think that those times where you've given your life to Jesus, but you stray away from church because you didn't do things right, or you're doing things, you shouldn't be doing, or yada, yada, and, and feel that shame, I would
Right.
say.
Yeah.
I really think that's religion and not relationship, because relationship with Jesus is like, you know what, I did it today, but he's got me. Like, and I deal with that. Like, I have anxiety and I pick things back up that I've prayed to lay down daily.
Oh, yeah.
And in the shower, which is my prayer time usually, I'm always like, Jesus, just take it back. And I'm sorry that I picked it back up. Like, I know that you can carry this for me. You know,
Right.
those types of things. But that's relationship. It's kind of like when I've seen it on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm sure y'all have too. Like, I used to show my age. I almost got it an e-card. A meme that says, you want the relationship with Jesus like you would with your dad or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to. Hey, I'm in trouble. I want to call my dad. Not, hey, I'm in trouble. Please don't call my dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's relationship instead of religion.
Yeah, and I think to Katie's point, like I grew up, it was very fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
You know, it was trying to scare
Walk
you.
the line.
Trying to
Yes.
scare you into submission where, yes, there should be fear of hell. I don't
Absolutely.
want to go to hell.
No, same.
It sounds awful.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't do good with
10 for
extreme
10. Don't
heat.
recommend. Yep.
My nose is sunburnt from a baseball game. I would not do well. I would not do well. Like,
Also, don't go to Jamaica. You will definitely
I
be
will-
burned.
when you're this pale, you just don't travel too far south. But
So
it's
fun.
like I don't already need you to add to what hell is probably going to be like. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need you to add to that. But coming to people with the gospel and with
Exactly.
the actual compassion, because you can't sit there and tell me that Jesus Christ was sitting there pointing fingers at everybody, but yet the man was willing to give up his life for us. That is the ultimate act
Yes.
of compassion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is to lay one's life down.
Yep.
And he didn't do it for one person.
Yeah.
He did it for everybody, from the Jews to the Greeks, which what that meant was back then, it didn't matter where you were from,
Your mom and them.
your mama and them, who
All
birthed you, who raised you,
all of them.
the color of your skin, it didn't
Everybody.
matter. It encapsulated everybody. Everybody. So I think that's why we're doing such a good job. And I say we here at Victory Hill, not that I'm on stage, but that our teaching team,
Yes.
giving them the credit, does a good job.
Yeah.
Because we're not just getting the gospel, we're getting the context. We're
I
getting
love
the
too
why.
because they're the real deal. Like when Mason's talking about this is the way he lives his life too. Like he's not preaching anything. Pastor Chad doesn't. None of our teaching pastors do preach anything that they don't live out themselves. And I think that is the most refreshing thing. One of the things that he said that just kind of blew my mind was if you get saved because of your behavior, then you will have your behavior thinking you can't be saved. You know, like, and that's legit because if I got saved because I don't want to go to hell, or I want to make sure that I'm being good all the time, then being bad is going to make me think I'm not saved anymore.
Yeah.
And that's true. And those two things are not the same.
I liked where he said that it was, to your point, because in one of the other services, he said, it's not like a discount punch card.
Yeah.
That when you do something good, you know, at the end, you're going to get something free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
$5 off.
Not
that
like
made me
that.
think of the nail.
The nail
nail
place.
salon,
Yes, that's what I
yes.
was thinking of. $5 off. You next one.
That's literally what they tell you. She's a good impression. But yeah, I love that because I was just like, that made me giggle because I was just like, could you imagine like the
God
angels
up
also,
there.
not with their tally board, but also like a little punch card. And they're like, well, Bethany hit number 9.
All right.
We got to give her a miracle next time. And then the other angel's like, no. She going to fall and break her leg first. So.
Yeah. No miracle for you.
No, ma'am, not today.
So funny.
You pre-punched your card.
Ah, dang it.
But I love how they break it down. They break it down for us. I kind of use the word dumb it down a little bit
Yeah.
because I'm not saying that anybody's not smart, but listen,
Put it on our level.
you got to get it on our level, man.
Yeah.
Because there's sometimes
Well,
I just
because it's when it's the weird words or the hard words or the hard things, it's not applicable.
Yeah.
This is applicable. You know what I mean? Like knowing that my behavior doesn't change how Jesus sees me, that's applicable.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep. And I think if you haven't gone back and watched the sermon, please do.
Yes.
Because literally Mason took just 2 verses
2 verses.
to explain so
Romans
much.
is rich.
It is.
Romans is good.
It is. I'm a little jealous of his small group because they've been breaking it down verse by verse. So I would honestly have loved that.
Yep.
Now he tells us after it. But I do love Romans, and I think there is a lot packed into it. But I'm excited about the whole series.
Yeah.
You know, just to know that we are built this way. Because I think sometimes we forget what we're built for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
who?
And who. Yep. And there's so much freedom in that. I know we've said
Absolutely.
that before. I mean, we've all kind of said this before when we've been on together, that there's so much freedom
Yep.
Yeah.
in this relationship with Christ and that's our goal, is that if you're listening and you don't have that relationship with Christ, and it's something that's just been on your heart, please know that we're not here to condemn you. Maybe you're in a situation that's not ideal. It's not pretty. Maybe it's a little crusty.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the heel of the loaf of bread.
Some people love that, but Jesus loves the heel of the bread.
Jesus loves the heel of the loaf
But
of bread.
reach out.
Gross.
You know, we're not going to come at you with condemnation. We want to meet you where you
you're at.
are,
Yeah, that's right.
and love you, and show you the gospel like this.
Yeah.
We want to just love on you. So you can reach out. Our digital connect card is live all week. You can find it on Facebook, Instagram. Are we on the gram?
We on the gram.
We on the YouTube.
We on all the things.
We are.
Socials.
We're getting there. We're getting social. We know we're out there, but you can reach us that way, or just reach out to one of the staff. I mean, they're here during the week.
Yep.
You
Call
can
the
pop
office.
in, call, pick
Yep.
up the phone. But we're just grateful for the opportunity to serve.
Yeah.
You know,
Because the mission is to help people find and follow Jesus.
That's right.
Where you live, work, and play. And I just think that is a daily thing for us. It's not a Sunday morning thing. Like we want you to, if you find Jesus at 12:30 midnight on your second shift job in the bathroom
Absolutely.
because someone mentioned it that day, or you listened to the podcast while you were working, like we want that time to be the time. Like God is no respecter of time or place. When you're ready, he's ready, and that's the mission.
Yeah.
So what is something you guys are going to take away into your next week?
I am going to think more that my behavior does not deduct from how God sees me. That's it. Like my daily behavior, whether good, bad, or ugly, he still sees me and still wants me.
That's a good one.
Let's see.
Katie on the spot.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I think, a church can't be built for the gospel and ashamed of it at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that that's really, really something that I want people to understand and take with them on their daily, don't be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
If you run into somebody, they want to talk about it, or if they start trying to, argue with it about it and stuff, just stand firm, don't be ashamed. Or if they think, nah, but could it be this way? Don't just stand strong to it. And,
And there's a lot of compassion that's offered in that, because
right.
you can understand one another in an argument. You don't have to agree. I think we get those two things confused.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can completely understand someone else's point of view
Exactly.
and not agree with them
Move on.
and move
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Yep.
As long as you're standing firm, you don't have to argue. So
Yep.
there's
That's
a
right.
beautiful freedom in that as well.
Yep.
I think for me, it is that salvation is a miracle.
Yep.
That sometimes that gets so diluted, but that I just hugely highlighted, restore to me the joy of my salvation.
Yes.
I want to remember every day that that's something I should be thankful for
absolutely.
and grateful for, and just kind of reset my mind around that. And to do that for my family as a whole, because I feel like if what I do ripples into the world, how much bigger of a ripple will that be if my whole household is like that? Which also is part of the ultimate goal to have
legacy.
people. Yeah.
That's right.
So we are excited about this new sermon series.
Yes, we are.
We have a few more weeks left of the podcast because we're going to run in tandem with our small group seasons, which just allows for everybody to also spend time with their families and the things that they do in life. So we're thankful for everybody that's joined us so far. And we're excited about how this is going to grow in the future. So check us out, connect with us, and we will see you guys back next Sunday.
All right.